Hi and welcome to learntocreategames.com. Today we'll have a look at how to create classes. It will be an introduction. So let's get started. So as we see here, we have a project that is empty, and we will create a brand new script in the folder called classes intro. So again, we go to create and then C#, and again create a new script. The name of this script will be my NPC. So again, when you create your script, the name of the script is also the name of the class that is created by Unity, something to remember. So we'll then just double click on this script and start to edit it. So as you can see, by default, you have two functions, start and update. This is because this class inherits from what is called a mono behavior, which is a Unity type of class. So what I will do right now is that I will create some member variables and member methods. So the first thing I will do is to create what is called a constructor. So this constructor will be called whenever we will be creating a brand new object of type myNPC. So the default constructor here has just open and closing round brackets. And what I will also do is create member variables. So in my case, I create a member variable called name, and the type is string. So again here we'll do the same for health. So again, assuming that our NPC will have a health and a name. The health is type integer, and again we want some number of lives. So again, the type will be integer as well. So the next thing we'll create is a target. We might change the type later, and again the type is GameObject. Now, looking at my constructor, what I will do is initialize the name of my NPC. So whenever my NPC will be created by calling the constructor, the name will be initialized to the empty string, the health will be initialized to 100, and the number of lives will be initialized to 3. So again, these variables have been declared outside any of the methods. This way they're accessible throughout my class. What I'm doing right now is I've created the first constructor. This constructor will be called if I've passed no parameter when I create my object. However, what I could do is create a different constructor, and this constructor will take 1 or 2 parameters. In our case, it's going to take a new name. So again, in this case, what I'm doing is just saying that in the case of if I call this constructor, the name will be set to the name that is passed as a parameter. So again, we have two different constructors. The first one will set the name, health, and number of lives by default. The second one will actually set the name using the name that has been passed as a parameter. So we're pretty much okay to go here. The next thing that I will do is to create what is called getters. So getters basically will make it possible to get information from this particular object. As you see, I just use an access type or access modifier private for this one, but I will change it later to public so that we can access it in a different context. So again, here I'm just returning the name of my object, and there are no parameter passed to this function, or this method. And the same applies to getHealth, which means that I will return the health of my character, return the value of the variable called health, and again this variable can be seen throughout our class, therefore can be accessed also from the constructor. So again, I'm going to change the access modifier for the method called getName, and the same for the method called getHealth, so that we are sure that we can access these methods even when they are used outside of this class. So a few more modifications there. You can see in the bottom of the window that Unity is specifying that I have a few errors left, so I'm going to make sure that they are all solved before I can run this test. So right now we just have a warning, okay, which is perfect, which means that I can actually launch my my application. So what I will do is quite simple. I'm going to create an empty object, and in this empty object, basically, I will drag and drop my script. Okay, so again, just need to go back to my script very quickly there. And then what I will do is, instead of creating a brand new class to control my game, I will actually do the instantiation within this class. So again, the start function will be called at the very start of our game. We will create 2 or 3 objects of type myNPC. Remember, the class has been declared, so I can now instantiate object based on this class. So again, the first object is calling the constructor, the default constructor, which means that no parameters are passed. So I'm going to call the first constructor for NPC1. And for the second object, which is NPC2, you will see that I will pass a parameter, which is the name of my object. Therefore, the second constructor will be called. The last thing that I will do is to print the information related to each of these NPCs. So again, by printing npc1.getName, I will print the name, or I will call the method getName that is associated to the object npc1. And effectively, this method will return the value of the name for this NPC. So again, I'm going to do the same for npc1 and npc2. Because npc1 is actually using the first constructor, basically we should have no name, it should be a blank field. And npc2 is using the second constructor, which means that the name should be set to Pat, which is the parameter that was passed to the constructor. So again, I've got just one more error here, and again, I just need to check the type here. It's called myNPC, and again, myNPC again. So save, and once we are done, we just launch the script once all the errors have disappeared. And what we should find is that in the console window, we should have a message. But even before that, sorry, I just need to create an empty object. So again, this empty object will just be used to be able to run my script. So again, I'm going to create this empty object and then drag and drop the script onto this object. Done. So again, you can see that it appears as a component of my object on the right hand side in the inspector window. And if I play and look at the console, you should see at least 2 messages. Okay, so again, you have 2 warnings. We'll have a look at that later. But again, name for NPC1 is nothing, and name for NPC2 is Pat. So again, this has worked properly. So what I will do right now is create another constructor. This constructor this time will take a different parameter. The parameter will be of type int, and here we're going to specify a new health. So the idea is that by calling the constructor and passing just one integer, we will actually perform several actions. And well, one of them will be to set the health with the value of the parameter passed to the constructor. So again, health, which is the health for NPC, will be equal to the health passed as a parameter. So again, here, the only thing I need to do is to create a brand new NPC. So again, just copy and paste this line and say to NPC3, but instead of passing a string here, we will pass an integer, which is 100. So basically, by default, my NPC3 should have a health of 100. So again, here I will change the text for this particular message and just make sure that I specify also the health. Now again, in my example here, the third NPC, I've set the health to 100, but again, by default, my NPCs will have a health of 100. So again, I will need to go back to the script and specify 50, so you can see the actual difference between using the default constructor or using constructor for which the health can be specified. So again, I'm going to do that for NPC2 and also NPC3. So again, just change the name NPC3 at the end and at the start. Okay, so when this is done, we just need to save our script, go back to Unity, and play our scene. And what we should have is that the console window should display the health of all 3 new objects. So again, play the scene. And as you can see, if we go to the console window, we should see the health is 100, 0, and 100. As mentioned, again, we don't see much difference between the first and the last NPC. So again, I'm going to change the parameter path to the constructor for the last NPC. So again, if I look at NPC 3, I could, for instance, set the health to 50 instead of 100. In this particular case, if I save my script and play it again, you should see that now the health displayed is 50 for the last NPC.
That's it, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. Again, if you want to know more about Unity, please check the website www.learntocreategames.com. See you. Bye.